when we do work with the skills and the talents and the things that the Lord has given us, I truly believe that we feel closer to Him. I feel closer to Him, and I think you can feel closer to Him too through those things. He has made you a creator. He has made you creative in your own way. You are unique and beautiful, and there are things in your life that bring you joy and happiness and make you feel alive when you create that solution or create that object or do that thing, woodworking, dancing, whatever it is. You are creative because God made you creative. Isn't that incredible and beautiful? I love it. Life is full of adventurous twists and turns, including the ones we create through our passions, dreams, desires, and discoveries. In the Life by Sarah podcast, join me and my guests as we talk about staying passionate and creative in the midst of all the chaos that is life. Hi, I'm Sarah Ann Compton, and this is the Life by Sarah podcast. Hi, welcome to another episode of Life by Sarah podcast. I am so excited for all you listeners, people watching, joining me today for a fun episode. And I'm just going to start off by divulging probably something really silly. And that is, I didn't want to change my shirt for you. It's so silly and really stupid, but I don't actually do a lot of this content creation podcast and blog posts and even social media. I don't post anything until after Berkeley has gone to sleep. There's just so much other stuff that's going on during the day that I don't really get a chance to sit down and do a whole lot until after she is asleep. So I did my makeup a little bit so my face doesn't look too gaunt, or I don't know what it would look like, but I was like, this shirt's great. So that's what we're working with today. And what are we talking about today? Creativity. Dun, dun, dun. If you know me at all, creativity is one of my favorite things to talk about. For those who have known me for a long time, my husband and I used to own a business a long time ago called Create Now. I mean, honestly, for me, it doesn't feel like it was that long ago. We started the business. Well, we had a podcast that we had started it was either 2019 or 2020. I can't remember. We started it while Scott was in Afghanistan. He was working as a contractor and he was over there for about a year and a half. It's like a whole crazy story that I should probably, maybe I'll do an episode and divulge all that craziness. And if you go back and listen to the episodes where I had Scott on and we kind of talked about our history, I look back on it now and it's pretty crazy. But during that time, a way that we were working to connect with each other and just something fun to do together, we did a podcast and we called it The Compton Creative. And then later, as we were trying to do other things, we ended up changing the name to Create Now. But we interviewed some incredible creatives, just amazing people. And that's kind of what I'm doing a little bit with this podcast. Interviewing and talking to people who are creative in different ways. And sometimes it's going to be in ways that you don't expect, because it's going to stay in line with my goal to help inspire and encourage women to live, grow, play, and create in a way that helps them recognize their potential, find joy in life, and recognize their identity as daughters of God. So that's kind of what we're talking a little bit about today. I love creativity. It's been a huge part of my life in all the expected ways when you think about creativity. I did drama I started doing drama when I was middle school. I was in A Midsummer Night's Dream. I played a fairy. That was really fun. And helpful because I'm naturally a very shy person. So it really helped me get out on stage and be in front of people. And honestly, I had so much fun playing that part and working with a lot of the other kids and the teachers. I was in drama in junior high. I did a really fun play called, I think it was called The Enchantress of Ipswich, where I played this girl who was accused of being a witch. That was super fun. Oh, that was probably one of my favorite things that I've done. I was in drama in high school and I did a bunch of really fun parts and plays. Got to help out with some of the production on a one-act play we did for a competition one year. I actually really love drama, and someday when we're maybe a little bit more established in a place, I will join a community theater or something. I have wanted to do that for a long time, and it will happen, I'm sure. I played the clarinet so I played a musical instrument. I did that from 6th grade all the way to 9th grade, and then I joined the choir in high school. Loved it. I always wanted to play the piano, so I somehow learned or taught myself to play some things by ear. And we have a piano. We got a free piano because people just give away pianos here. And I mean, it needs to be tuned really bad, but we got a free piano and I'm trying to teach myself to play. Of course I write. Many of you know that. I have a book out called Britta on Fire. It's a short novella. I'm working on a full-length novel at the moment that I've been working on for a long time, and it is so close. I have short stories you can check on my blog. I have other fun things that I'm planning to do with my writing. I write blogs. I do this podcast. I love crafts. I love cooking. I love bake. I really love cooking and baking. I love baking probably the most, especially when it comes to like stuff that I really enjoy eating, like chocolate chip cookies and brownies. So I've done a lot of like really creative things, and like the ones you think of typically. Those, I'm really interested in those, and I love doing them. But like most people, I also suffer from imposter syndrome that keeps me from recognizing my abilities, strengths, and talents, and joy in creativity. I mean, how many people, I mean, you can raise your hand in your head, have had somebody tell them that they're bad at something and then they just don't want to do it. There's this really, this is where I'm at in parenting. There's this fun Bluey episode where Bluey is drawing all these pictures with her family, and her dad starts drawing these pictures, and the mom comes and sits down and calls his horse, she's something else. He meant to draw a horse, but she's like, oh, that's a nice donkey or something. And as it goes on, you see the mom is really good at drawing. She draws beautiful horses, and does this flashback where it shows the mom drawing a horse and her mother encouraging her. And that's what helped her keep going and drawing and increasing her skill. On the other hand, it shows this backstory where Bandit, the father, he has loved drawing cars when he was younger, but he had this one kid who told him that he was bad at it, and so then he stopped drawing cars, and he just never got any better because he already had it in his mind that he was bad, and so he wasn't going to do it. And I think that happens to, I would say, all of us. At some point in our life that has happened. Somebody has told us that we're bad at something, and it's been really hard to move forward and keep doing it. And I hope that many of you have been able to push past some of those and find joy in those things that you love and not worry about what other people think, and just continue to increase in your talents. So kind of taking this a little different direction. I believe, and you may have heard me say this before, I believe that we are meant to create in some form, that God created us to create. We are his creation, and I'll get into that in a minute. So I did this fun Google search, and it popped up with this AI response about creativity in the scriptures. I asked it both about the Bible and the Book of Mormon, because those are scriptures that I adhere to and read and study. So it says both the Bible and the Book of Mormon teach that humanity's capacity to create and innovate is a divine gift. Because we are created in God's image, our creative pursuits reflect His nature and offer a way to engage with the world. I love that. I love that. I couldn't have thought of it any better way to say it. So thank you, AI, for coming up with that. But it gave me a couple scriptures that I think might help you see the picture here. The first one it gave was Genesis chapter 1, verse 27, which reads in, if you're looking for it, I'm actually reading from the King James version, which is easier for me to access because that's the one I've studied for most of my life. So Genesis chapter 1, verse 27 reads, "So God created man in His own image. In the image of God created He them. Him. Male and female created He them." And Google summed it up so nice. This passage highlights that our fundamental nature includes the ability to build, shape, and invent. So basically, because we're created in God's image, who is a creator, we also have a fundamental nature to create, invent, shape, build. Look all through history. What have we done? The things that we have come up with and created and invented, pretty impressive. I think a pretty good testament right there. Next one it gives, and I loved this one because I have been studying the Old Testament a lot through this year, and in a way that I think I haven't before. I have a goal to read the entire Old Testament. I've read the entire New Testament, the Book of Mormon, the Doctrine and Covenants, which are all scriptures that we study in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. But I've never studied the entire Old Testament because it's a really long one, and there's a lot of, especially when you look at like Leviticus and Numbers, Deuteronomy, some of these things are just a bunch of rules. And even at the end of Exodus, where they go into all the details about building the temple, it's a lot and can be hard to read sometimes. But this time I'm reading every single chapter, every single verse. I'm not going to skip over some of these more boring quotation marks. I actually really want to read it, and it has been really good because I've learned a lot from it, and especially from this is Exodus chapter 35 verses 30 through 35, which is one of those chapters it's talking about building, not the temple, the tabernacle is what I meant to say. So they're building the tabernacle that they take with them throughout the wilderness. And it reads, "And Moses said unto the children of Israel, See, the Lord hath called by name Bezaleel," and I'm not going to say these names correctly, "the son of Uri, the son of Hur, of the tribe of Judah. And he hath filled him with the Spirit of God in wisdom, in understanding, and in knowledge, and in all manner of workmanship, and to devise curious works, to work in gold, and in silver, and in brass, and the cutting of stones, to set them, and in carving wood, to make any manner of cunning work. And he hath put in his heart that he may teach both he and Aholiab, the son of Ahisamach," see, I can't read Hebrew, "of the tribe of Dan. Them hath he filled with wisdom of heart to work all manner of work of the engraver and of the cunning workman and of the embroiderer, in blue and in purple, in scarlet and in fine linen, and of the weaver, even of them that do any work, and of those that devise cunning work." So he's talking about specifically Bezaleel. Hold on. His name was Bezaleel. And he has these talents that God has given him, and because of those talents that he's been given, God is calling him to do these specific things to help with the building of the tabernacle. And Google, of course, writes details. This scripture details God filling artisans with the Spirit of God, with skill, with intelligence, with knowledge, and with all craftsmanship to design, carve, and weave. So, I mean, he's given us, all of us, he has given some talent. And these talents are meant for us to create and use. Colossians chapter 3, verse 23, and whatsoever ye do, do it heartily as to the Lord, and not unto men. This encourages applying creativity and wholehearted effort to everything you do. And then getting into the Book of Mormon, 1 Nephi chapter 17, verses 8 through 9. And it came to pass that the Lord spake unto me, saying, Thou shalt construct a ship after the manner which I shall show thee, that I may carry thy people across the waters. Sorry, my nose is tickling so bad right now. And I said, Lord, whither shall I go that I may find ore to molten, that I may make tools to construct the ship after the manner which thou hast shown unto me? And this is Nephi speaking to God about this ship that he's supposed to create to pass the seas to get to the promised land. And it highlights the importance of asking for direction while actively utilizing one's own faculties to create. And a lot of times that's how the Lord uses us. He tells us to do something, but he's like, I've given you the talents, I've given you the tools, go and do. Mosiah chapter 2, verses 12 through 19. King Benjamin discusses hard work. I'm not going to read the whole scripture because they're pretty long, but this is when King Benjamin is talking to, it's his famous speech that he gives to the Nephites sometime before he dies. And he discusses how hard work and using one's hands and talents to serve, how important that is to serve others, and establishing that work and earthly stewardship are ties to serving God. So the abilities and things that God has given us are meant for us to serve and to do something with here on this earth. You can even look into stories about the brother of Jared found in the book of Ether. I think one of the most interesting stories is when Jared, the brother of Jared, goes to the Lord and says, we can't breathe, we can't see inside these barges that we're making. And he comes up with the solution, and the Lord he agrees and he helps him with it. So, and then Captain Moroni, this is probably one of my favorite stories. I just think it's so fascinating to see how Captain Moroni was like, we need to do something to fortify these cities. So he comes up with this incredible idea and there's like a whole, there's detail about it. I remember one time I was studying and I drew the picture because it's so detailed about these walls that Moroni built to help protect the people in these cities that the Lamanites were attacking. And then, of course, the parable of the talents. It's talking about money, but as kids, we always talked about how the talents also equal the gifts and skills that the Lord has given us, and how important it is to use those and not hide them and bury them. So there's some pretty good, I think you could find a lot of other evidences for how the Lord has created us to be creative and to use these skills and talents that he has given us. But I'm not creative. Maybe you say, you're like, sometimes it's really hard for us to recognize our own abilities and talents that the Lord has given us. And it's hard for us to see how we might be creative in different ways. I've heard that from a lot of people. I'm not creative. I can't do it. And a lot of times I think people, when they think of creativity, they're thinking about art. They're thinking about all those artistic type things, playing music, writing, painting, drawing. And those are not the only types of creativity. Those are the arts, but they're not, that doesn't mean that you have to do those things to have creativity. And everybody has some form of creativity. So I want you to, I'm going to put a couple questions, about 7 questions out there, and I want you to answer them truthfully in your mind. Number 1, have you ever planned anything, maybe a social event or a meeting or a presentation, and put some kind of effort into it to ensure that it is entertaining, good, explanatory? Think about that. Maybe it was for work, maybe it was for church, maybe school, and maybe you had fun with it. And by the end of it, you're like, wow, this is actually pretty good. Have you ever told a lie with expounded story? That one's kind of silly, I know. And I'm not talking about answering yes or no to a question, and that kind of simple of a lie, but maybe you came up with some sort of story to explain why you did something. Have you ever had an idea to do something adventurous, like go on a hike or explore or a cave or swim in the ocean? Maybe you do like to do those kinds of things. Do you like traditional creative things like art, written works, music, etc. for their artistic nature? Do you daydream about doing something creative? Maybe baking a pie, playing the piano, building a table, scrapbooking. Are you a problem solver at work and in your daily life? And have you ever had an idea to do something in a different way? When I worked in my corporate, when I had my corporate life working for companies, one of my favorite things to do in those jobs that really made me feel accomplished and creative was coming up with solutions to problems. If you answered yes to any of these, and I'm sure you did, unless you're lying to yourself, then you are creative. At least you have a creative mind. And the difference between you, if you're stuck in this lie, and those the world deems creative, those you deem creative, is that those people put their creativity into action and they embrace it for the mere fact that they enjoy it and want to keep growing. Creativity does not mean perfect. It does not mean that you can draw the most beautiful landscape. There's this account I came across yesterday on Instagram, and it's kind of a silly account. I've seen some of his videos before, but he draws these pictures and then he talks about how he doesn't show them until the end of the video, but he talks about how he was denied being entered into a contest because his drawings were so realistic, and so it can't possibly be real. They're probably photographs. And then it shows the picture at the end of the video, and it's like the stick figure. And there's some really interesting things that I've seen people do on social media where they're not necessarily talented with drawing these beautiful images, but they find ways to bring other creativity through, like telling jokes or telling a fun story that really connects with people. So I want you to think about this in relation, that curiosity and action equals creativity. Using your mind and then taking action with it. That's where creativity comes from. It doesn't mean perfect. It just means that you're willing to put something out there. And creativity is definitely more than art, music, and drama. Creativity is and should be in our everyday lives. It is how we live our lives. There is creativity that goes into every single day in how I'm going to plan my day, how I'm going to clean the house today, or like how to keep up with certain chores, or what I'm going to do with the yard outside, how we're going to pay our bills. There's creativity that goes into all of that. Fun activities we're going to do as a family. It is in how we grow our knowledge and skills. What are you interested in? What do you love learning? Maybe you love history. Maybe you love anatomy. Maybe you love working out. Or maybe you do want to learn a new artistic type skill. Maybe you want to learn how to decorate cakes. I did that a few years ago, and it definitely was not perfect by no means. I have still so much to learn, but I had fun with it and I really enjoyed it. And I think that's a big part of creativity. And then it's also in how we play with our friends, our family, with our hobbies. What are we doing to just have fun and play with it? Because creativity doesn't need to be serious. It doesn't need to be like I sit down and I have this incredible thought and it all has to come together perfectly. It is just, I have this idea. Let's see what happens with it. So what do you like to do what brings you joy, what makes you feel like you are adding something to this unique world. Maybe it's perspective and how you look at experiences, issues, world things. Maybe it's using your skills to solve problems. I did this and love this, like I said earlier, in my job, in my corporate life. Little side note, I would do interviews to hire people onto my team. And a lot of time I talked about the analytical side and the creative side, and how being in communications, because I was in marketing communications, but being in marketing communications it was important to have both creativity and analytical thinking. And I kind of stepped back from that a little bit more now, and I think actually analytical thinking is very creative, because it's taking information and figuring out what it means and coming up with solutions to help maybe fix the problem, make things better. And that was a big part of what we did in communications, is trying to look at information and figure out, how do we take this and communicate it effectively to make sure all who need to know about it get the message. And that means, like, do we have all the information? Do we have the who, what, where, when, why? And that was very important. And I think is a very creative talent that not everybody has. And I saw that sometimes as I hired people who I thought maybe had those talents, and then it became really difficult to train them because they hadn't developed those kinds of skills. Not that they can't, but that it is a very creative type of skill that you really have to look at things from a different perspective. So, food for thought. Maybe it's how you interact with your family and find solutions to their problems. Maybe it's using your incredible math skills. Math is creative. Think about all the things that mathematicians have been able to do with math. You think about physics, think about all these other, the sciences are full of math. And a lot of the things that scientists have been able to solve, problems that they've been able to solve, and inventions they've been able to come up with would not have happened without math. Math is incredibly creative. Storytelling of history skills. I don't know how I put that in there, kind of funny, but basically what I'm trying to say is maybe your creativity is being able to take history and tell it in a fun and interesting way. Maybe it's about, maybe your creativity is about rocks. I've known geologists and they light up when they talk about some of the things that they know and learn. And to learn and to look at something and figure out where it comes from, that takes a lot of creativity, a skill in how to think through, sift through all your knowledge and come up with the answer that you're looking for. Maybe it's anatomy. Maybe it's in your career as a lawyer, a manager, a doctor, marketing professional, sales associate, customer service provider, retail worker. It's in every facet, any profession. And maybe it's in your love for fitness, like Pilates, Zumba, calisthenics, yoga. I do yoga. I am certified in yoga, and there is a lot of creativity that goes into creating flows and thinking through anatomy and how you're going to move through poses in a way that's going to be safe and effective and fun. Maybe it is in art, music, painting, writing. Maybe it is those kinds of things. Creativity, the point is creativity is everywhere. And you are creative. So you can't say, I'm not creative. Maybe it's just, well, I'm not really into that type of creativity. But it's not that you can't do it. Especially if you haven't put any time and energy into it. And maybe you're just not interested, which is totally fine. We don't have to be interested in everything. Let's go after the things that we are interested, the things that bring us joy. I've been thinking a lot about how these interviews that I've been doing and all these fun things that I've been planning with the blog and the podcast and how it all comes together into this goal. And I think I finally have like the perfect mission statement. This is something I've been working on for such a long time to really understand what it is I'm doing. Years ago, I wrote a blog post all about this concept. And then I like changed a bunch of stuff on my website to kind of go along with this concept. And then things happened and I didn't write for a long time. And then I came back and I was like, I don't know how this all fits. And so this has been a journey. It's been a fun journey. It's been a journey. But here's the mission statement I finally came up with. I aim to inspire, motivate, and encourage women to live, grow, play, and create in a way that feels authentic to them, brings them joy, and helps them recognize their identity as daughters of God. Because when we create, when we do those things that the Lord, when we do work with the skills and the talents and the things that the Lord has given us, I truly believe that we feel closer to Him. I feel closer to Him, and I think you can feel closer to Him too through those things. He has made you a creator. He has made you creative in your own way. You are unique and beautiful, and there are things in your life that bring you joy and happiness and make you feel alive when you create that solution or create that object or do that thing, woodworking, dancing, whatever it is. You are creative because God made you creative. Isn't that incredible and beautiful? I love it. So that's the podcast today. Thank you for joining me and listening to my little spiel. But I hope if you get anything from this at all, it is that you are creative and you are meant to create. And I hope you find things that light your soul on fire and keep you creating. And I'd love to hear what you do. I want to know, what are the things that you love doing that make you feel creative and whole and happy? Let's connect. And putting a plug in there, I'm always looking for guests to come on the show. So if you have something that you want to share about life, creativity, play, growing in knowledge, maybe you're a hiker, maybe you're an adventurer, maybe you like to travel, maybe you decorate cakes, maybe it's about your job that you have that you feel like you just love and you want to tell people about this really cool thing that you do. Whatever it is, family's a huge thing. And I want to start inviting more people on to talk about being a mom and the everyday life of having a family. I want to do all the things. This is what the podcast is about. So please, if you are someone or you know someone who would love to come on the podcast, send me a message. You can put a comment on my YouTube video if you want. You can send me a message on my website. Go to sarahanncompty.com and let's connect. But besides that, go create, go have fun, and thank you. Hey, thanks for listening. Or if you're on YouTube, thanks for watching. I appreciate more than you know your love and support. If you're looking for more by Sarah, check out my website at sarahanncompty.com and find me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Sarah Ann Compty. I'd also love it if you hit that subscribe button and share this with your friends. Thanks, and have a wonderful day.